This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers, right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning broadcast team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, and Mark Magnuson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Mark Magnuson.
Hello and welcome into Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Mark Magnuson. Today is a new month. It is Wednesday, March 1st, 2023. We're so glad you could join us for today's show. And in today's episode, we will hear comments from Iowa U.S. Senator Chuck Grassley during his weekly conference call with ag broadcasters and reporters. We will also have a check of the ag weather outlook, but first, let's run down the markets.
It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net.
At the end of another trading day, we are joined now by Tyler Schau of agmarket.net with our closing market analysis. Tyler, what did we see in the grain markets today?
Saw a little bit of a move back to the positive side on the grain markets, with the exception of some of your back month corn contracts. Most of them are going to settle in the green today, so that's a welcome gift, or not necessarily a gift, but welcome surprise to anyone that's been following the sell-off as of late. There's a couple ideas floating around. One, we're hearing some rumors that there's some business probably from China, at least being asked about in the Pacific Northwest, and possibly some more export business getting done along the Gulf. And that really, the rumors are there, and the market kind of, I wouldn't say confirms it, but suggests that's what's going on with your March contract leading the way, even though it's in delivery, going back into an inverted spread between that and the May contract. So, that's the function of price. Prices get low to try to spur demand, and we've been talking for several months now how export demand for corn has been lagging, and maybe we finally found a price level low enough that got some people interested in buying. You also had some private analysts come out and slash their yield expectations or production expectations for Argentina on both corn and beans this morning. So I think all that coupled together just kind of led the market to maybe decide, okay, maybe we've pushed this thing too far to the downside, and we're starting to see some buying come back in.
Tyler, with those production estimates for South America, for example, when you have several different groups or individuals putting out those estimate numbers and they kind of vary from source to source, how do you decide what to rely on? Or do you just take the entire picture and have to try and, I guess, average those sources and kind of come to a number that makes sense?
Yeah, we try to stay somewhere in between where the USDA is and where those average analysts is coming in at. The USDA is typically going to be slow to adjust, which some will argue is good, some will argue is bad. It's just it is what it is, I guess, is probably the best way I can explain it. They're gonna ag on their adjustments both down and up with production. We try to, we're going to take that into account as a group at Ag Market and JSA when we're trying to evaluate where the actual numbers are at. But we'll generally kind of split the middle. So the private analysts are quite a bit lower than the USDA. We expect over the next few months the USDA will come in and maybe not hit where the private analysts are at, but get a lot closer over the next few months. So that's what we would be expecting. Is we're looking at South American corn crop to get smaller over the next few months, just with the dryness that they've been having. So we expect that we'll probably see more of that export business come to the U.S. here in the spring and summer months as a result.
What did we see take place today in the livestock markets?
Livestock, both in fat cattle and feeder cattle, went up and put in some new contract highs. And maybe not on the fat cattle, we went and pushed up against the highs, but feeder cattle and a lot of the contracts we put in new highs, reversed back down, and actually took out some of yesterday's lows. So I'm sure the technical analysts will be saying that maybe we saw some key reversals in the feeder cattle contracts. We've seen some of those before, and they're followed up the next few days with buying over the last couple months. So that's just the type of market we're in and the feeder cattle side. Wasn't a whole lot of news outside of, one could argue that this cattle market needs a little bit of a breather, could probably use a little bit of a pullback. Your stochastics and your RSIs, which a lot of the analysts will use to determine whether a market is, quote, overbought or oversold, are in that level where they're going to say that they're overbought and maybe are due for a correction. So I think maybe that's just some of what you saw today, and feeder cattle being down $1.50, and the fats trading down a little bit. Outside of that, there really wasn't a lot of cash market news or fundamental news in either cattle or hogs.
He is Tyler Schau of agmarket.net, our guest here today at our closing of the markets. Tyler, how can our viewers get in touch for more great information?
Check us out at the website, agmarket.net. You can look up to see if there's any brokers near you. Check out our Intel. You can sign up for a 30-day trial of our Ag Intel, and if they want to call direct, the number 701-987-6009.
Tyler, thank you for the time as always. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll speak with you again soon.
You bet. Take care.
That was Tyler Schau with agmarket.net. Let's turn our attention now to the closing numbers, and those numbers courtesy of the folks at Bar Chart.
May corn is up 5.5 at $6.35 3/4. New crop December corn down 1/2 cent at $5.69 1/4. May soybeans up 15 1/4 at $14.94 1/4. New crop November soybeans up 11 3/4 at $13.59 even. May soybean meal up $3.20 at $4.70.30. May soybean oil up 79 cents at $60.83. Chicago wheat up 4.5 at $7.10 even. Minneapolis wheat down 3 1/4 at $8.63 1/2. Kansas hard red wheat up 3.5 at $8.16 1/4. May oats up 1/2 cent at $3.35 1/2. On the Merc, April live cattle down 35 cents at $165.12. April feeder cattle down $1.22 at $193.85. April lean hogs down 22 cents at $84.95. April pork cutout down 72 cents at $90.97, and Class 3 milk down 25 cents at $17.78.
And that's been a check of the Ag Market Recap here on Ag Matters PM. We're going to go ahead now and take a quick break to hear from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association, and the Soy Checkoff. And when we return, we will hear from Senator Chuck Grassley. This is AMPM.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
Welcome back to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Mark Magnuson. Today we will hear from Iowa U.S. Senator Chuck Grassley during his weekly conference call with ag broadcasters and reporters. That call took place on Tuesday morning. The senator holds a weekly conference call to discuss agriculture issues, and this week Senator Grassley started off his remarks by discussing President Biden's executive order, which is commonly referred to as the 30 by 30 plan.
Tomorrow morning, our Ag Committee is going to hold a Farm Bill hearing on the conservation programs. The hearing comes as Russia's illegal invasion of Ukraine has put our world grain in short supply. Remember, about 40% of the wheat on the world comes from Ukraine, and about 60% of sunflower, particularly the oil in sunflower, comes from there. Now, at the time of this invasion, then we got the Biden administration want to take more American farmland out of production. A week into the President Biden's term, now 2 years ago, he issued an executive order, and it's known by the 30 by 30 plan. That's to take 30% of our country's land and waters into permanent conservation, and to do that by 2030. Now, they're fishing for all kinds of ways to get this job done because they'll never get this through the Congress of the United States. So one of the tools the Biden administration is trying to use is the Conservation Reserve Program, a very popular program, CRP. So we had problems with CRP before the 2018 Farm Bill. So one of the problems we had was that the government was paying to take land out of production, and they outbid the cash renter. So a lot of farmers were hurt as a result of the federal government's enormous power to pay whatever they want to. So we tried to take care of that in the 2018 Farm Bill, working with Senator Ernst. We capped the conservation program, saying that federal government couldn't pay more than 85% of the average county rental rates. Now, this is the shenanigans that go on to get this 30-30 plan in place. During the 2021 CRP sign-up, the Department of Agriculture added a 10% inflation adjustment for contracts signed. So that got over that 85% requirement. And it's clear that they wanted to increase the amount of land in CRP to meet their arbitrary 30 by 30 goals. This increases the chances that the federal government is outbidding young and beginning cash rent farmers. In other words, the federal government's getting back to be an unfair competitor. There's no way the family farmer of Iowa can compete with the massive amount of power coming from the federal treasury and the ability and they're wanting to spend massive amounts of money to accomplish any goal that they might want to accomplish. Now, we all know the CRP is a useful tool, but Iowa has the most productive farmland in the world. So if this 30 program would go through, taking a lot of American land out of production, you know what's going to happen. Our international competitors with questionable environmental practices in their farming operations, and Brazil and Argentina would be an example of that, they're going to just put more land under production. So the goals of this administration are being undone by something that the American government can't do anything about. What Brazil and Argentina farmers are responding to the marketplace. Because if we produce less, you got to feed this hungry world of 8 to 9 billion people. It takes a lot of farmland to do that. The question is, will the USDA let American farmers continue to meet that worldwide demand? Because we export about 1/3 of our production. And or are they going to continue down this irresponsible path of trying to take 30% of our farmland out of production?
Senator Grassley was asked if he thinks a farm bill can be completed and agreed upon by September of 2023, or whether or not the deadline will have to be extended.
Well, I met with the ranking Republican Senator Bozeman yesterday to discuss this process, and he's very positive, speaking for Republicans, that the Democratic chairman of the committee wants to move ahead, so I feel very good about the chances of getting a farm bill. On the other hand, it would help a lot if Schumer would run the United States Senate in more of a business manner, because I think maybe I told you last week, so I'm repeating myself, but let me repeat it because it's an important proposition. We go in at 3 o'clock on Monday afternoon. Usually all we do is have one vote at 5:30. Then, of course, we work Tuesday a full day, maybe even 10 or 12 hours. Wednesday, the same way. But the Senate it doesn't go into session till 10 or 11 o'clock. So let's say we have big work days Tuesday and Wednesday, and then maybe 4 hours, 5 hours on Thursday. If the Senate's only in session 2.5 days a week, that just makes it very difficult to do all the work that the United States senators ought to be doing. Because when I came to the United States Senate decades ago, we started at 10 Monday morning and went until 4 o'clock Friday afternoon. And with 5 days of sessions, you can accomplish a lot more than you can with 2.5 days of session. So I would hope that Senator Schumer would start longer session hours. For example, we didn't get a vote last year on my cattle bill. And you can do more in 5 days of sessions than you can 2.5 days of sessions.
Grassley was also asked about E15 and whether or not we'll be given an approval for year-round use for 2023 and beyond.
I sure hope so. And another thing that Schumer could do by having 5-day sessions a week instead of 2.5-day sessions would be take up the bill that I think Klobuchar and I have in, and I think Ernst is working on it to have 15% year-round. Then we don't have to fiddle around with EPA making a decision or not. That's one thing we could do. The second thing we could do, if there's any nominees for EPA up for the lower levels below the director, we can put holes on those nominations and say you aren't going to get these people approved by the United States Senate until you make a decision on E15.
Senator Grassley was also asked to compare the difficulty of crafting the Farm Bill this year compared to past editions of the Farm Bill.
Let's go back to the basics. The basics are that if there's anything that's going to be bipartisan, it's going to be a farm bill, because it always has been. But let's go back to another basic. We just had CBO score this at $1 45/100 trillion, and that's very costly, and inflation concerns. Then look at what Senator Vilsack did by putting another $200 and some billion into the food stamp program, and Congress. And when we scored all this stuff, and any move like that with the Secretary of Agriculture, which he has authority under the law to do, was supposed to be revenue neutral. It wasn't going to cost anything. And that was both a Republican and a Democrat approach during the 2018 Farm Bill. Well, when you go ahead and spend $200 and some billion to broaden the food stamp program, and it's not in tune with what Republicans and Democrats on the committee said it was going to be, revenue neutral, you know, that's an irresponsible position for the Ag Department to take, and so that gives us an opportunity, just where they abuse their authority, to make some changes and to save some money.
And that was Iowa U.S. Senator Chuck Grassley. As for right now, let's take a look at the ag weather outlook. Well, a lot of sunshine here in central Iowa today. We have a beautiful day outside, but the temperature ranges across the state of Iowa, quite a wide range as far as those high temperatures are concerned today. Tonight, fairly uneventful as far as the forecast goes, as things will cool off a little bit. And then tomorrow, another cooler day, as temperatures will be held in check just a little bit across the state of Iowa, mostly cloudy skies for a large portion of the state. So let's turn our attention now to the National Weather Service and what's in store for the next 24 hours.
As you can see from the National Weather Service, mostly sunny and breezy today with that wide temperature range across the state of Iowa. 35 to 55 are high temperatures today. Mostly cloudy with increasing clouds tonight. Low temperatures in the 19 to 31 degree range. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy, a chance for a rain-snow mix in southwest Iowa. Apart from that, fairly quiet for the rest of the state with temperatures in the 34 to 42 range. And now looking at our affiliate weather map for tomorrow, Cherokee 34 degrees and mostly cloudy. Shenandoah 41 the expected high, mostly cloudy with a chance for a rain-snow mix. Des Moines tomorrow 41 and mostly cloudy. Albia 42 and mostly cloudy. Waterloo mostly cloudy, a high expected around 40, and Clinton 42 and mostly cloudy.
For a more detailed forecast in your part of the state, make sure and check with your local Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network affiliate. And that's been a check of the Ag Weather Outlook. That also brings us to the end of this episode of Ag Matters PM. You can find all of our content on our website at iowaagnet.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and LinkedIn. And you can find all of our previous video content and also previous episodes of AMPM on our YouTube channel. Don't forget our free twice daily market podcast, which are found on Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and Podbean. From the IARN studios in Des Moines, I'm Mark Magnuson. On behalf of Riley Smith and Dustin Huffman, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.